Disappointed. Well, let's talk about the good stuff first. Let's talk about the good stuff. I love policy. Now, that's not going to surprise anyone who's heard my radio show. I love the details of policy. And in all the debates, it's interesting, I was the only candidate, there was a blog that rated all of the debates. And I was the only candidate that got an A in every debate. Now, sometimes I got an A+, and sometimes I got just an A. But the other candidates, including the one who won, were getting an occasional A, but lots of B's, and some got C's and D's and F's. Because, obviously, I know policy. I know federal policy, I know state policy, I know international stuff, as we're going to talk about. What surprised me, I guess, and maybe shouldn't have, because I'm an idealist and I live on the ideals, is that knowledge of policy and winning debates doesn't determine campaigns enough. I wish it would. I wish people voted on the candidate they thought best had their views and best knew policy and best supported the things that they wanted done in Congress and could most effectively do it. That's not often what wins campaigns. As I went around, I found a lot of people were voting for someone that they'd met before, or they knew for longer. They didn't know me, so they didn't trust me. I guess that makes sense. But rather than, and I told them, go to my radio show. I've spent 10 years on the air. I've done thousands of radio shows, hundreds of TV shows. You want to know who I am? I've got a record, but people won't take the time. They'll just vote for someone they already know. And I guess I was surprised by that. I was surprised that people wouldn't open their minds in order to determine who they thought the best candidate was. But what surprised me more and disappointed me most, I guess, was all the people that didn't vote. At the end of the day, in some precincts, only 8%, 8, not 88, not 18, 8% of voters turned out. And I would go all across Alexandria, Arlington, Fairfax County, Virginia, Falls Church, and talk to voters. I talked with young people about my plan to make college costs cheaper, and they loved the plan. They thought it was a great plan, but at the end of the day, they didn't take 5 minutes to turn out to vote. I guess they thought their vote didn't count. But when everyone thinks their vote doesn't count, guess what? Their votes don't count. And so I'll repeat what I've said often on this show long before I ran for Congress. If you don't vote, then I think you lose your right to complain. In a democracy, which your voice matters. We, the people, are in charge, but we're only in charge if we act through voting. If you don't act through voting, well, you either have no role at all, or, we're going to talk about the Middle East, people act through violence. Voting is the alternative to violence. And so I can't tell you how many people looked me in the eye and said they were going to vote, but I know that the vast majority of them who said they would didn't. And a lot of them were young people. A lot of them were people Mark Grimaldi's age, or heck, even my age is considered young, because the average voter in my district was about 60 years old. That means that half the voters were over 60 and half were under. So if young people wonder why they're not getting a fair shake, it's because they're not voting. And you should. 888-653-7543 if you want to